If you're a federal employee who's thinking about retiring early under FERS, you've clicked the right video because today I'm going to be going through all the different options that you have available. Hi, I'm Christian with Plan Your Federal Retirement, and this is a FERS Federal Fact Check. We had a great question that came in from one of our listeners, one of our viewers, from John, and he said, hey, I'm 50 with 18 years of FERS service, and my minimum retirement age is 56. Could I retire now under some early provision? If not, what are my options? Like maybe a deferred benefit if I leave now and return later. If I waited until 60 with 20 years, would I qualify for full retirement without penalty, or would I still face a reduction until age 62? So really good questions that you have here, John. Really what we're talking about is going to be those early retirement options that you have available to you. But before we get into the early retirement options that you have, we should get a brush up on just the normal, unreduced, immediate pension options that you have under FERS. So as a refresher, that would be retiring at your MRA with at least 30 years of creditable service, retiring at age 60 with at least 20 years of creditable service, or retiring at age 62 with at least 5 years of creditable service. This is, again, the normal, unreduced, immediate pension options that you have with FERS. So first thing I'm going to bring up with John, we're looking at his age 50 right now, and he's got 18 years of service. So obviously he's not going to be meeting any of these retirement thresholds quite yet. He's younger than his MRA, and he's got 18 years of service. So what are some of those other options that we have under FERS? Well, the next one would be an MRA10 retirement, better known as a postponed retirement. And under an MRA10 retirement, you retire on or after your MRA. You've got at least 10 years of service. You can choose to turn on your pension now, or you could choose to postpone it to a later date. So a later date could be 60 when you have at least 20 years of service, if you did have 20 years, or you could postpone it till 62 because you have at least 5 years of service, but not quite the 20. So if you choose to turn on your pension with an MRA10 retirement earlier than the thresholds I just mentioned up above, it comes with a penalty. And that penalty is 5% per year younger than age 62, right? So if you decided that you had your MRA and you were 57 and you went out with 20 years of service, that's 5 years younger than 62. That would have been a 25% permanent penalty. So a lot of people look at this and they choose a postponed option where they postpone turning on their benefits till that later date when they've met the normal retirement threshold rules. That means we're postponing our health insurance that we have there as well. So we have to have a plan. If you choose to do a postponed retirement, how are you going to have your health insurance during that time when you're postponing your retirement? Now, one thing I wanted to go back with John and looking at his age right now, he mentioned his MRA is 56. So there is an MRA range between age 55 and 57. So if you're born on or after 1970, then your MRA is actually going to be 57. And if it's before that, then it would be some range between younger than 57 back to 55. So in this case, his MRA would be 57. Just wanted to point that out. So going through these rules, John still hasn't met his MRA if he were to go out right now, right? He's got at least 10 years of service, but he's not MRA if he were to retire right now. So really there wouldn't be any option for him to collect any benefits or even do a postponed retirement right now. So the next option that you have available would be a deferred retirement. And a deferred retirement, it sounds like postponed, right? In the English language, those words generally mean the same thing, but in FERS, they're not. They're very different. Under a deferred retirement, you have at least 5 years of credible service. So as long as you have 5 years of credible service in FERS, you're vested. And a deferred retirement essentially is, you're quitting. You're separating from service. You're not getting your retirement benefits. You're you're essentially just leaving federal service and then turning them on at a later date. Now, the kicker here is, unlike a postponed retirement that I mentioned above, you could keep your health insurance with a postponed retirement. You do not get FEHB if you choose to do a deferred retirement. You do not get FEHB if you choose to do a deferred retirement. So that's a huge benefit. The number one benefit that we tell our federal employees and retirees that they have available to you is you get to keep that health insurance into retirement. So you have to be very cautious if this is something that you're considering, if you're going to be doing a deferred retirement, is that you don't get to get your FEHB. So how does a deferred retirement work? Well, again, you just quit, you'd separate from service. And then once you've met these other thresholds based on your years of service. So in this case, if John left right now, he's got 18 years of service. He'd have to defer turning his benefit on until 62 because he's got at least 5 years. He wouldn't have been able to turn it on at 60 because he doesn't have 20 years right now. One of John's questions was also, could he separate from service right now as a federal employee and then later return to the federal space after having a gap in his career in the federal space, maybe go into the private space, maybe get starting his own business? The answer is yes. Under the laws that we have right now, you can leave, you can come back later, and those 18 years that John would have had would still remain as long as he didn't cash them out. Those 18 years would still remain, and then he could work, let's say, another 2 years, get to 20 years, and then he could choose to either do a postponed retirement, or by then maybe he'll already be 60, and then he'll have a normal retirement. And that answers his last question there of, if he goes back into service, let's say he returned to service at 58 and he worked for 2 years, so he's 60 years young. He's got 18 years from before, plus the 2 years that he just worked. He'd be able to get that normal retirement because he'd be 60 with 20 years. There wouldn't be any age reduction if he took it out. It took his pension at 60 because he'd have those 20 years of service. Yes, there's a gap in service, but those collective years would count, and that would be a part of his credible service under FERS. Now, I can't help but mention other retirement options that are available. So this coincides with our special provisions. So think law enforcement officers, firefighters, air traffic controllers. Your retirement thresholds for a normal, immediate, unreduced pension are going to be slightly different than the ones mentioned up above. So that would be retiring at age 50 with at least 20 years of creditable service, or any age with at least 25 years of creditable service. So again, special provisions 6C, law enforcement, firefighter, air traffic controller, these are going to be your retirement thresholds that you have to meet. And if you don't meet them, then you're going to fall under the postponed or deferred retirement rules as well. The reason I bring this up is also because these are the same retirement thresholds for a discontinued service retirement. So what are discontinued service retirement examples? Well, this would be a RIF, reduction in force. This would be a VERA. This is the DRP, Deferred Resignation Program. All of these are considered discontinued service, and your retirement thresholds are slightly different as well. So in this case, John, if you're 50 years young with 18 years of service, you still haven't met these rules yet, but fast forward a couple of years, if you fell on and found yourself in a discontinued service retirement and eventually you had 20 years, then these are what your retirement thresholds would look like. And then at that point, if you're RIF'd, you go take a VERA in the future, then you could collect your benefits. You would be entitled to your FERS supplement at MRA, starting at MRA, and you'd also be able to keep your health insurance as well. So pretty neat stuff. And I know this can be complex. There's lots of different ages and different rules when it comes to your federal benefits and retirement. So if you have more questions related to this, feel free to leave your question below in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you get our latest videos and content that we put out. And of course, until next time, happy planning.